Hello and welcome to Your Dad Learns Hearthstone Arena. This is a draft recap. It's the first draft recap that I'm doing for the series, so I'll explain what it's going to do real quick. I'm going to go through the class I chose and the 30 card choices that I made, what the options were, how I kind of saw the pick, why I took what I took, and at the very end, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning so you can pause the video or whatever if you need to, and let you know how the run went, which, to be fair, is impacted by the picks that I chose and also how I played the games that I was in. If you would like to see the actual gameplay footage, I will have some up and I'll link it in the description below. So, with that said, without further ado, let's jump into the class I chose. So I was given the option between Priest, Warlock, and Druid. To be quite honest, when I played this game years ago, I mostly played Warlock, especially if I did a constructed format. So I'm just more comfortable with Warlock, and I feel like if you are just getting back into the game, or if you're just getting used to Arena and trying to, figure out or relearn the fundamentals, just being comfortable with something, especially if it's the class that you're playing, can just help. So I went for something I was more comfortable on, grabbed Warlock. So first pick, Lesser Amethyst Spellstone, first Stonehill Defender, first Defile. To me, this is a tempo pick with the Spellstone, as it lets you remove a minion, gain some health, which gives you more of a buffer in case the opponent's trying to rush you down, or potentially lets you trade up. So you could trade a 1-cost minion into something that costs, 3, 4, maybe 5 mana, because you'll hit it for 3 and then hit it with something else. Although then it takes 2 cards, so it's not the best trade, but it's a very good card, I think. It gives you good options. Stonehill Defender, it's defensive, and it's good because it replaces itself, so you're automatically going to get some value out of it. It's just that value is random. You don't know what you're going to get. You could get a very low impact card like a 0-2 taunt, or you could get something like the Lich King, which is a game-changing card. So it replaces itself. It's got value. It's pretty reliable. It's just you don't know the impact it'll have. Defile, to me, it's potential board clear, and it's a swing card. So you could be behind in the game. You could be abysmally behind on board. They could just have you shut down on creatures or whatever. And for 2 mana, you could potentially destroy their entire board and even the game stayed out. Especially this early in the draft, at least in my estimation at this point, it's better to have that swing card and that potential just board clear. I really like removal. I really value it. I think that's one of the reasons I like Warlock, because they generally have a good amount of removal. So I take the card that could potentially just destroy the entire board and put me at a good spot. So I take Defile. Cabal Librarian, 2-1 for 1. It's an okay body, but what he really is a turn 1 hero power. He thins out your deck, gets you a card, deals 2 damage. Turn 1 hero power. That's pretty strong. Bane of Doom, deal 2 damage to a character. This could be the opponent, his creatures, your creatures, you wouldn't really hit yourself, because the second part's just if you kill that character, summon a random demon. Not a bad card, because you potentially, in the situation where you would play it, you kill something and you get a body. It's just you only do 2 damage, and you're not sure what body you're going to get. Like, are we talking about a Flame Imp? 3-2? Okay. Or are we talking about, like, I forgot what the demon's called, but he's like a 5/7, not haste, but 5/7 charge creature or whatever, and that could be really strong because you kill something, then you get a charge. Hey, why not? But it's a spectrum. It's really random. Bone Mare is a late game tempo card because you get a 5/5 body for 8 mana, not the best stat line, but you give something +4/+4 and taunt. So generally when you play it, you're either going to deal 4 more damage to your opponent, possibly close out the game, or you're going to take something like, if you take the Cabal Librarian here, he could go from a 2/1 to a 6/5, kill something and still live to have taunt, tell the tale, and have something else hit him, probably kill him, but he could trade for 2 cards that way. And you can do that with lots of creatures. So, pretty solid. I think it's really strong. So I grabbed Bone Mare. Hellfire, 3 damage to everything. Board clear, reach, some direct damage, so you can kill your opponent potentially, although you also hurt yourself. So, not bad. Real good if you're up against a bunch of small stuff. Hooked Reaver. At worst case, he's kind of a bear. Just 4 for 4/4, just straight stat line. But if you've been being rushed by your opponent, so they've been just trying to kill you real quick, or you've been aggressively using your hero power, maybe you have a Cabal Librarian and you use your hero power, and after a turn you end up using it. Like, if you're just taking a bunch of damage, he can be a 7/7 for 4 mana with taunt. So he stops them from rushing you down if you get it out early. He buys you a lot of time, or he's just a really strong body for where he's at. So, good card, good creature. And Spellstone, we've talked about. Tempo card, some removal. I like removal a lot, but I also like the idea of having a strong body. So I grabbed the Reaver. Next pick, Dark Possession. 2 damage to friendly character, discover a demon. When I first saw it, I didn't like it at all. Now, I don't think it's as bad, just because it's kind of like a hero power on first turn. If you don't have anything else to do, you can hit yourself with it, take 2 damage, and you get a card. You don't thin your deck, but you get something, and you can kind of plan around that. If you need an earlier drop in your hand, maybe you can get that. You know, it's not bad. Acidic Swamp Ooze and Tuskar Fisherman both have good bodies for their cost. One's a 3/2, one's a 2/3. The Tuskar, to get his battle cry, you need another creature out. So if you're going to play him on curve, you need to have a 1-drop. The Acidic Swamp Ooze, to get his full value, your opponent needs to have a weapon. So if you play them on curve, both their abilities probably not going to trigger. It's just whether you want higher power creature or a sturdier creature. I took the Fisherman because I decided to go for a sturdier creature. So, Bane Doom, Librarian, we talked about them. Despicable Dreadlord. 5 mana for a 4/5, which, okay baseline. Not the best, but it's okay. But at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. That's a really strong ability, and one of the things that makes it strong is it's at the end of your turn. So you can set the board up and then drop this guy and get his effect before your opponent can respond to it, which makes him really strong. He also pretty much shuts down Paladin's hero power. Make all the 1/1s you want. They're going to die at the end of my turn. So, I think it's ultra strong card. I can't imagine too many things I pick over this card. So, I snap that up. Next turn for pick 6, Gastropod, Pixie, or Messenger. Gastropod's 1/2, taunt, poisonous. Whenever you play it, they're going to have to spend some card to get rid of it. They will lose something to get rid of it. Unless it's really late in the game and say they can double hero power and they're a mage or something. But I feel like 90% of the time this will trade for something. It only costs 2 mana. You should get your mana's worth out of it, and potentially a lot better of a deal out of it. Blackwalled Pixie. With Warlock, it's pretty much a 3 for a 3/4. Even double hero powering, it can be strong if you're ahead, but it also hurts you a lot, and having 2 cards is good. But I think most times you'll want to play this on curve, which isn't bad. Messenger is basically removal. You're either going to rush and do 2 damage, possibly live to do 2 damage again, or what I would probably prefer is you're going to do 6 damage to a creature of higher value, or that costs the opponent more to make, and you're just going to trade out this weaker card for that card. I end up going for the Gastropod because I just think it's more reliable. I like the spot it fills. It gives a taunt, so it gets you a little later into the game. So I just end up taking that. I think the Pixie would also be a good pick here. Just okay to fill out the curve, but I like the Gastropod. Alright, Librarian, Cobalt, Scalebane, and Siphon Soul. Cobalt Scalebane, his ability happens at the end of your turn, which means your opponent gets the first chance to respond to this. You don't get to use that 3 attack until your next turn. So, it's not the same as the Dreadlord where you can set up and then use the ability. This, you put him out, and you hope to be able to do something with it the turn after. So, 5 for 5/5, not bad. I think he fills a good spot in the curve. I think if you can get him to stick on the board, he lets pretty much any creature trade up. He just +3 attack is really strong. So he feels like if you're already even or winning, or if you have a way to protect him, he's a win harder type of card, which isn't bad. Like, he will, if he sticks on the board, he can seal that game. He can just straight up win the game by having that card. However, Siphon Soul, I love removal. It gets rid of anything. This solves a Scalebane. This solves anything. Tyrian Fordring, they drop that down. Oh, Siphon Soul it, it's gone. Not a problem. Huge Taunt, get rid of it. Hit you in the face, not a problem. And it gives you 3 health to boot, which is just extra breathing room, especially for Mage if you've been aggressively tapping. Just lets you get 3 health. So, I took the Siphon Soul. I think it's ultra strong. I really like the versatility of it and the reliability of it. Next turn, Scalebane, Doom, Siphon Soul. We just went over Scalebane. We've already gone over Doom. I think Siphon Soul is just the strongest of all of them, and I like having 2 of them because it lets me be more wasteful with my first one, and it doesn't matter as much because I have a second one in my deck. So it solves potentially 2 big cards. Like, they drop a Deathwing, gone. Kill it, doesn't matter. Alright, next turn. Cabald Monk. Your hero can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Not bad. There's spots where it's good. It seems more like an answer to specific deck archetypes, and you don't know what you're going to be playing against. So, if you need a 4-drop or whatever, it's not bad. Shrieking Shroom. Underwhelming stats for the slot it fills, but it's a creature generator, so if you can protect it, it's not bad. Sated Threshodon. 5/7, that even if they remove it, you get creatures. So, it's strong, it's a little later game, and I end up going for the later game card out of all of these. So, another Siphon Soul, Bane of Doom, or a Despicable Dreadlord. Siphon Soul is really good. I'd be happy to have a third, but the Dreadlord is just way too powerful. And the thing is, the more of them that you get, the more you can put on the board, the stronger they are, because you just make your opponents have less and less options for creatures they can play. So I snap that second one up, no qualms. So Swamp Ooze, we've talked about, decent body for his slot, and potential to take out a weapon, especially if you draw them later in the game. Not bad. Situational, but I generally like having one in my deck. Shadow Bolt, removal. I have a lot of removal right now. Even at this point, 2 Siphon Souls, 2 Dreadlords, Gastropod, Defile, I've got removal. Fungalmancer, lets my creatures trade up. 5 for a 2/2, not the strongest body, but potentially lets me push through 4 extra damage if I need to. Lets creatures I have be able to trade and then get buffed up, or buffed up and then trade, so I can just make my creatures healthier. So it's got good versatility. So I end up going for the Fungalmancer because I want the versatility, and I think I have enough removal, so I don't need to grab the Shadow Bolt. 12th pick. Not really the best of the bunch we have here. Guild Recruiter. 2/4 for 5, not a good body, but he thins your deck out. You recruit a minion that costs 4 or less from your deck. So, potentially, you can get him out and get another card out of your deck. Gets you to your stronger cards faster. Summoning Portal, you have to build a deck around Summoning Portal. I think that would be ultra hard to do in Arena, so it doesn't seem worth it to me. Scorpomatic, when I first saw it, like, it seems strong in my mind because it's 2 mana, take out something with 1 or less attack. Cool, a small body and a removal. Like, but your best situation is probably turn 2 they play Gastropod, and your turn 2 you play Scorpomatic and kill it. And it's not very reliable. Most of the things you'll come up against, it probably won't even be able to kill. Most of the time it would just be a 1-2 for 2. You can do better than that. You can do better than that with 2 mana. So I just go for the Guild Recruiter. Thin the deck out a little bit. Give me to the rest of my deck. Give me to something I'd rather see. Oh, so next. Hungry Etten and Giant Mastodon. Both just big taunts. And Ironbeak Owl is basically a silence. Stat line is not great. Dies to, not half hero powers, but dies to pretty much any hero power. Like, whatever. But it's mostly a silence, which is just an answer to something like an Etten or a Giant Mastodon. If you need to get through some taunts or you need to shut down something with really annoying ability, silence is amazing. But I have a lot of removal. I don't feel like I am dying for the silence, really. There's situations where it could be good and can stick your opponent with, like, a whelp egg or whatever that is. It's like a 0/3 that gives you 2 1s whenever it takes damage. You can just silence it and all of a sudden they have a useless 0 whatever card. But most of the times I would rather have the Etten or the Mastodon. I go for the Etten just because you can get him out a lot earlier. He gets you to your later game. Your Giant Mastodon is part of your late game. The Etten will get you to that later game. And the only real fear is that you play him and your opponent gets a 2 mana cost poisonous creature. In which case, just make sure you have something that can kill, or that can do 2 damage, pretty much, to whatever your Etten summons. So if they summon something troublesome, you have a creature to throw into it. So, pretty easy to work around. So I take that. Hoarding Dragon, Fallen Sun Cleric, Unwilling Sacrifice. Hoarding Dragon, just strong body for 4 mana. 5/6 for 4. Strong creature. Fallen Sun Cleric, a little bit of tempo. Lets you potentially buff something up and kill a creature and still survive with something that shouldn't survive in that spot. I like it. And Unwilling Sacrifice. Choose a friendly minion, destroy it, and destroy a random enemy minion. If you're trading efficiently, most of the time you're going to want to be trading creatures instead of hitting your opponent, so you can maintain a dominant board position. So if you're doing that, then you're keeping their creatures to a minimum, and you're almost able to choose what Unwilling Sacrifice destroys. So I think it's actually a lot more reliable than it seems at first glance. But at this point, I want a strong creature, so I take the Hoarding Dragon. Acolyte of Pain, Demon Fire, Shrieking Shroom. Talk about Shrieking Shroom, it's a creature generator if you can protect it. Demon Fire is a small removal or buff. It's just a small 2 damage card. Not horrible, but nothing to really write home about. Acolyte of Pain, if you're something like a mage, you can trigger it multiple times, and that's strong. But mostly, especially in a Warlock deck, I think it's mostly going to be a 3 mana for a 1/3 that gets you 1 card. So I end up going with the Shrieking Shroom, have a potential creature generator, and I have no 3 mana cards yet, so I want one of the 3 mana cards. Alright, Soulfire. 4 damage, discard a card, a random one. If you don't have any cards, just 4 damage. The deck I'm building so far has a lot of removal, a lot of stuff I want to kind of hold on to. I'm not planning on having an empty hand, and I don't really want to just randomly lose stuff. It can still be good, but I think Feeding Time is a better option for the deck I'm making. 3 damage to a minion, get 3 1/1s. This removal plus some threats, some tempo. You know, it's a good card. I like it. And Voidwalker, 1 for 1/3. Very solid for its price point and slot. I just don't feel like I'm going to be threatened that much early game, so I go for the Feeding Time. Scalebane, Bone Mare, we've talked about both of those. Fireplume Phoenix. Deals 2 damage, and it's a 3/3 body for 4 mana. So most of the time you're going to play it, kill a smaller creature, and be able to trade it into something else as a 3/3 body. Very rarely, I think, will you use it to damage your opponent. You won't really, unless you probably won't be in a racing situation. So I see it as a early to mid game tempo card, and I see the Bone Mare as a later game tempo card. I think I've got a decent setup that I'm trying to get to the later game, so I take the later game tempo card. I wouldn't blame anyone if they took the Phoenix or even the Scalebane, like if they just wanted stronger potential ending the game with all the removal I have. It's not bad either, but I go for the Bone Mare. So Fiendish Circle, 4 1/1 imps for 4 mana. I don't know about that. Earthen Ring Farseer. Battlecry, restore 3 health. That can be to you, that can be to enemy, that can be to one of your creatures. One of the good situations is if you draw this later, you have a big creature like, let's just say the Hungry Edna that I have. Run into something, kill something, and then you heal it for 3. Heal up one of your big taunts. Fungalmancer, still really strong. At this point, I take the Earthring Farseer because I want to hit my early curve, because I think I have a strong later game, so I want to hit that early curve. I only have 1 3-cost creature, and it's not the most solid one. Looking back, I might take a Fungalmancer in this position. It's still really strong. So, Fungalmancer, Earthen Ring, either one. I end up going Earthen Ring just for the ability to heal up and just kind of smoothly get me to that mid-game to get me close to the late game. Next pick, Knife Juggler versus Fungal Enchanter versus Dark Possession. I'm looking for a solid 2 or 3 drop. I end up taking the Knife Juggler, 2 for 2/2. Whenever you play a minion, or after you summon a minion, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. This works with things like Feeding Time, by the way, and works with Shrieking Shroom. So I have a couple ways to kind of get a lot of procs out of it. It can also make my Despicable Dreadlords pretty strong, because you might be able to get Lucky Knives where you set something up if you play your creatures first. Fungal Enchanter, restore 2 health to all friendly characters, including yourself. That can be very strong, especially later game, if you trade a bunch of stuff in, and your stuff doesn't die, but gets kind of low on health, and then you just restore a little bit of health to everything. It can be a good value card. I think the later you play it, the more value you can potentially get from it. So, both of them are strong. I end up going with Knife Juggler to go with my Shrieking Shroom and Feeding Time, but I would not blame someone for grabbing Fungal Enchanter. I don't think Dark Possession is as reliable or as strong in this situation. So, Serenite Chain Gang, Spellstone, or Gilnean Royal Guard. I'm trying to get to my later game, so I snap the Chain Gang up like that, just like nothing. But over the past couple arena runs I've done, I've actually gained a lot of respect for Gilnean Royal Guard, mostly because it has Divine Shield. So you can just, if you play it on a turn where it's at 8/3, 3/8, it's underwhelming. I don't know. Still might be okay, but I don't know about it. But as an 8/3 of Divine Shield, you pretty much run out and smash one thing of your choice, doesn't matter. And then, most likely, trade something else the next turn. Probably a lower value card of theirs, they'll run into it. But it kills Lich Kings. It kills a lot of really strong cards if you get it at the 8 power mark. So, I might actually take that, looking back on things, but Chain Gang gets me to my later game. I really, I think that's a really strong pick too. It's debatable which one to grab, I guess, but I take the Chain Gang. Oh, Bloodsail Raider. Compared to the Rockpool Hunter, the Bloodsail Raider is worthless in this deck because I'm not going to have any weapons to pump its attack up. At least I have a sated Threshodon, so I might randomly be able to pump up one Murloc, although that's a really, really not strong play later in the game. But he's decent on curve. Grim Necromancer. You get 2 1/1 skeletons. So you get 4 attack and 6 toughness out of 4 mana. And it's pretty reliable. You'll always get that. So I've got a decent amount of 2-drops and 3-drops. I think that's a good 4-drop to have. So I grabbed what I consider the more reliable Necromancer. Duskbat. That is kind of the only way I have to trigger it is with my hero power. And it's the same stat line as a Necromancer. So it'd basically be a 5-mana Necromancer where I draw a card. But I also take 2 damage. So not really the most entertaining of options. Blood Witch, 3/6, not a bad stat line. Deals 1 damage to your hero at the beginning of each turn. If I'd grabbed up 2 or 3 of the spellstones I was offered, this card would be much, much more attractive. Because I'd have a way to actually proc those cards and make them stronger and negate the health damage I'd be taking. Right now, the damage is kind of just so I can have a 3/6 at 4. Not the most appealing. Not bad. It's a strong card, but not the most appealing. Drain Soul, 2 damage to a minion for 2 mana. It kills something early game. They play Gastropod or something that I don't want to have to deal with. I can just kill it. So I go with the Drain Soul. Also, if they hit me early game, it lets me recover some of that health. So it seems pretty good for its spot. Oh, next one. Threshodon, Fallen Sun Cleric. We've talked about both of those. Hinch Clan Thug. After your hero attacks, give this minion +1/+1. I have no weapons. My hero is never going to be attacking. This is never going to happen. So it's 3 for a 3/3. Underwhelming. I don't really think I need the Cleric because I have enough 2-drop stuff. I don't think I want to flood like 7 or 8 2-drop cards into my deck. So I take the later game Threshodon because once again, at this point, I'm thinking of trying to get to the later game. So I would like something either definitely solid earlier or something just potentially good later. So, Threshodon it is. Here's some solid earlier to mid cards. Feral Gibber. The Feral, I'm not really impressed by. It seems like it could be a potentially good combo card in decks, but you'd have to build around it. It could be really good with Knife Juggler, but I'm not counting on that. Cult Master, 4/2, it's going to die to something. And Boisterous Bard, 3/2, it's going to die to something as well. So it's their abilities I'm kind of looking at. I can give my other minions +1 health, which can help you trade up. It can actually be very good. So I think that is strong. And Cult Master is potential card advantage. If I would rather... It's kind of like, you can think, would I rather attack with 3 minions and potentially have them survive because of the Bard? Or attack with 3 minions and draw 3 cards because they died and they traded out? If I'm trying to get to my later game, I think I want the card draw. So I end up taking the Cult Master. Bard's also a good option, especially because I'm low on 3-drops. That's kind of the most appealing thing about the Bard. I'm not high up on 3-drops. But I take the Cult Master. Luckily, I get offered a Scarlet Crusader for my 25th pick. 3/1 Divine Shield. This is a very, very solid, strong, reliable 3-drop. Twilight Drake. If you play it on the 4th turn, especially if you've tapped earlier, it's probably going to be a decent 6 to 8 health range, maybe 4 or 5. It's mostly going to be a decent body. If you draw it late game, it's really weak. And if they silence it, it's really weak, but at least they had to spend a card silencing it. Pumpkin Peasant, 3-drop. At this point I have 2 3-cost cards. I'm looking for a solid 3-drop. I don't mind playing that early. Pumpkin Peasant can catch you up in health, so that's good. But I just think the Scarlet Crusader is more reliable and stronger. So I just end up taking the Crusader because I like its Divine Shield, basically. Pterodactyl Hatchling. 3 mana for a 2/2 adapt. A 2/2 wild card thing. You don't know what your adapt's going to be. So it might end up being a 3/3. It might be a 2/2 poisonous. Might have stealth. Who knows? Not bad if you need a 3-drop. Cabal Geomancer. 2/2 spell damage. 4/2. Not bad. Makes my Drain Soul better. Makes my Defile better. It can help out. But not bad. Not amazing. Unwilling Sacrifice. It's a strong removal. It can kill anything. So I end up just thinking the Sacrifice is a better card here. Another piece of removal. I like that. And it goes well with something like the Shrieking Mushroom. Because Shrieking Mushroom makes a random whatever creature. You sack it. Whatever. So I go with that. 27th card. Witchwood Grizzly. 3/12 taunt. When it comes out, it loses a health for each card in your opponent's hand. So late game, this could be a really big taunt. If you're top decking and everything, it could be really awesome. Middle to early game, it's probably going to be a bit weaker, but probably still worth the price point. Other 5-drops, it probably just straight trades with, because they might have to hit it twice, but it probably won't kill them on the first hit. Twisting Nether. Destroy all minions. You clear the board. Really strong card. Really good potential, especially if you're in a deck like this, which is where you're trying to control the game and get to the late game. If they've got a bunch of mid-game stuff they're just having trouble coping with to start your late-game engine, you can toss this down, clears the board, and hopefully you can play your higher value cards on the next turn. Tangle for a Mystic. 3/4 for 3. Like the Pixie earlier, it's got a good stat line, and it replaces itself. Also gives your opponent a 2 mana cost minion to their hand, but it's good. I end up taking the Tangle for a Mystic to fill out my 3-drop spot, but looking back on it, I probably should take the Twisting Nether. That, looking back, I think that's the stronger card, and I think that's probably what I should have took, but I took the Tangle for Mystic. So there you go. Next turn, Voidwalker. 1 for 1/3. I don't think, or for 1/3 taunt. Don't think I need that. Phantom Militia. By the time it's really worth it, it's 3 mana for a 2/4 taunt. It's okay, but for 4 mana, I have the Chain Gang. I get 2/3 taunts, which is stronger. 6 mana and 9 mana is where this really starts to be able to gain some value by having multiple taunts out. But I really think with the amount of removal and stuff that I have, I don't really need that to restall me out as much. I have some pretty good taunts and stalling cards. But the Dragon Slayer, 3 for 4/3. It'll trade with almost pretty much anything at the same cost, besides like the Scarlet Crusader or something that has Divine Shield. But it has a bonus effect of potentially just killing one of their other creatures when it comes out. They have a dragon, boom, it's gone. I know I've mentioned it before, I really like removal. I think this is already good in its slot, and could potentially be great by taking out one of their creatures. So I take the Dragon Slayer. Shadow Bolt, we talked about that. I have removal already, plenty of it. Stampeding Kodo is a body and potential removal. And Cursed Disciple is a 5/1. It's a strong creature that they have to deal with twice. Granted, it's not hard to deal with. If they have a couple 1/1s out, they already do it. So, kind of weak to stuff like Paladins or Mages. But, still a good card. It makes them invest some resources into it. So, I end up taking the Kodo. But when I look back on it, the Kodo is more of a situational card. They have to have something with 2 or less attack for it to actually work out. which lots of times they will, but if they don't, you kind of get a 3/5 for 5, which is kind of underwhelming. At least at 4 mana, the 5/1 can definitely trade up, and if they don't invest cards into killing it, or invest mana via their ability, like a mage's fireball or whatever into killing it, or mage's hero power into killing it, then it's going to trade up. So I'm taking Stampede and Kodo. Looking back, I'd probably take the Disciple. Or the Shadow Ball, it's not bad. So last pick, Bone Drake, Feeding Time, or Phantom Militia. At this point, I don't think I need the Phantom Militia. I think I've got enough 3 stuff. I'm looking for mid to later game stuff. So at least Bone Drake and Feeding Time. When I looked at this, I looked and said, I have enough removal. I don't really need the Feeding Time. I already have a Feeding Time. Yes, it goes well with my Knife Juggler if he's out. But I think I've got enough to get through. But that Bone Drake is a 6/5 creature. It's a strong creature. It's a threat they need to address. And when it dies, I get another dragon. Which, most likely, if it's a dragon, it's probably going to be another strong creature. There are some weaker dragons out there. But it's most likely going to be another random good card. At least it replaces itself. So, Feeding Time might go good because I already have a control setup. Gives you creatures. Good mid game, can help give me the late game, but I end up taking the Bone Drake. Either one I think is fine. Even though they rate it as the lowest, I still think it's a good pick. And that's the deck that I wound up with. If you don't want to know the results of the run before watching the games, or before watching the gameplay, then now would be a good time to pause the video, stop listening, all that type of stuff, and go watch the gameplay videos. But if you do want to know how the results went, I will tell you now. The game ended up going as a run with 6 wins, 3 losses. The magic number that right now we're trying to hit is 7 wins, because that's where, on average, you will actually earn your draft money back, usually plus a little bit. So, going for 7 wins, got 6. It's my first game back. My first draft, don't know much about any of the cards, so I'm happy with these results. So, hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, feel free to leave some comments, let me know what you liked, let me know if you'd like to see other stuff or other types of videos. Feel free to hit the like button if you want. If you didn't like it, the dislike button's down there. You can also leave any of your constructive criticism in the comments below, and I'll certainly take a look at those too. So, until the next video, I've been your dad. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.